Oh boy, here we are again. The NFC West and the AFC East. Chock full of intrigue and maybe some hodgepodge. I don't even know, but it's exciting. Nutmeg, how are we today?
They are on good Bucks McGee, and they are two very exciting divisions because both of them have hot seats. Both of them have uh, the window closing talk. So there's like a lot going on in these divisions as far as intriguing topics, like you said.
Oh man, it's very interesting, especially in the NFC West. There's some windows that could be closing. In the AFC East, could be some windows opening. So it's going to be fun, and let's get chatty.
And before we get into the talk, Bucks McGee, I feel like we should congratulate the future Mr. and Mrs. Travis Kelsey.
The beginning of the end of the kingdom. This is how it ends, folks. So you Chiefs fans, y'all are happy for them. This is how it ends. And what's going to happen is if this doesn't last, all you Swifties, you're going to get like a 12 album podge insane cry fest. It's just going to be 12 albums dedicated to Travis Kelsey and about how bad it went. But you know what? I hope it lasts forever. Patrick, I hope you enjoyed those rings because it's done. It's over. It's gone.
It's funny how we were thinking like this is gonna derail them when they break up, and then all the songs come. But no, no, no. You're saying it gets derailed from them actually becoming forever and always.
Of course, because Travis is gonna have to be home. He can't hang out with the boys anymore. I bet you, Taylor's all. You better get home. You better get home. Yep, it's over. It's done. Yep. Because once his career's over, he's gonna just be on tour. That's all it is. He's gonna be a tour husband. That's all it is.
He'll be the one up in the box. Well, maybe that's a silver lining. We'll have to deal with Taylor up in the box anymore because Travis will be
Taking care of the kids, walking them down, meeting mom before she goes on stage. Yep. Yep. That's how it's going down.
That's right. All right, we're a football show, so let's talk football. Let's AFC East. Let's start with the Bills because they're kind of been ruling the AFC East for the last few years. But they stack up all these ridiculous regular seasons. They still can't get to the Super Bowl. Josh is Josh is still waiting to like get over that hump, and it's getting to that point where like, are these Bills ever gonna do it? So
It's kind of like basketball during the Jordan years. If you were a team in the East, you weren't going anywhere. Like, let's be honest. The Knicks were banging on the door, just couldn't get past the Bulls. It took Jordan leaving for anything to happen for teams. And right now, for Josh and them, it's to get to the Super Bowl. It's you got to go through Kansas City, and only one of the elite quarterbacks in the league in the AFC has been able to do that, and that was Burrow. And it only happened once. So for Josh and them, this is probably the year where if it's going to happen, it has to happen. The Chiefs, I think, have regressed. A lot of people feel that they're not as potent as they once were. You have Baltimore, who is probably everyone's favorite. So Buffalo showed last year if they just play solid ball, and Josh is going to have to be MVP level again. But if they can get on a run, they can do it. This could be the year.
you have one contradictory comment out there. T Swizz and Travis got engaged, so the Bills have no chance.
No, I'm telling you, man, this is the end of it. That Travis is going to be too all lovey-dovey, worrying about what linens to pick for the wedding. It just messes it all up. The focus isn't there anymore. No, but like Buffalo, if they're going to do it, this is the year. Like I said, they're as close as they can, and it's if they can somehow, with their schedule, it's going to be interesting because those three teams play each other. So it's whoever can get through it and end up on top. They've got the inside track to the AFC.
Do you think that like the Bills always are retooling things, but they're never like really blowing things up? I mean, this off season they were kind of quiet. They did give James Cook a contract finally a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
But other than that, they really didn't do anything too crazy. So our kind of internal improvements here, what Buffalo really needs to get them to this point.
I think they're riding that wave of once. Don't forget, they got rid of once they got rid of Diggs, things kind of changed. It was kind of like a we're all in it together, and they played well. There was no loudness coming out of that locker room. It was everyone was focused and everyone played well. I think they're trying to ride that wave again this year. Yeah, Cook got paid a bit. Now they play well. Yeah, there aren't any big superstars besides Josh on that team, but they play well. It's just can they get hot at the right time and win when it counts? That
And
there's no
to
excuse anymore.
and to me, it's also balanced because they far too often in the past it's just been the Josh show, and when he's kind of all when he's kind of now he there's been games where he can do that and carry them, but then he runs out of gas at the end. But there's other games where he has to do too much, and it's kind of like a little chaotic out there, and they never get a good rhythm to finish off a game they need to.
Well, I think their offense was better last year. Like they were more well rounded, and they had more guys who contributed. So I think that works. It wasn't all right. Just go to Diggs, and then just figure it out as we go. I think the offense was well rounded. Cook played well. I think they're just going to go with that same formula. Of course, I think a big thing is making sure that they get quality from the tight end position. I think that's going to help a lot. Their defense, their corners are a little shaky, but I think they've got enough where they're definitely going to win. I think they'll win the division. There's no way that unless they just totally implode, they're winning the division. And then it's just going to be seeding. Like they have to play for seeding. They've got to either be the one or the two. They've got to make it as easy as possible.
Ethan's chiming in with a lot here, so we'll give him some love in the comments. Is Lamar the man to top the Chiefs? And I guess this is a two-part question: Are the Ravens or Bills better?
If you look at the rosters, you would say the Ravens are better, but I don't know what it is with the Ravens. They just can't seem to put it together when it counts. It just seems like they have the talent, but what's stopping them? Lamar's been an MVP. If you look at that roster, their defense is a very good defense. They've got speed. They've King Henry. Like there aren't many holes in this team. So what's stopping them? Again, if they don't do it this year, where I think the Chiefs have regressed, then it's just never going to happen. Then I think
Yeah.
at some point you have to sit there and say, okay, well, what do we have to do? Is it a coaching situation?
The Bills are always the team that gets to the finish line and then fall at the finish line, but the Ravens are always like not even getting through half the 5K.
It's like they start out well and then just something happens and they just can't finish. But for Buffalo, it just comes down to they're going to, win the games you're supposed to win. I think if they win, if they can beat the Chiefs, if they beat the Chiefs and the Ravens this year and get the inside track to the AFC, they've got a good shot.
Yeah. So, as always on these previews, we talk up our kind of games to watch. And very topical right now, our games to watch for the Bills are their principal competition for the top of the AFC. And the point you brought up off air was that all three teams, the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Bills, even though, we've kind of talked about the Chiefs this maybe being a down year for them, finally, or hopefully anyway. But this is like the one year where all three teams are probably all close to that level where they can get to the promised land. So those are kind of our games to watch. And the Bills, they get the Ravens right off the bat in week 1 on Sunday night, all the world to see. I mean, it seems every week people's gonna be watching football, but especially week 1, everyone's gonna be watching football. So whoever wins that game on week 1 Sunday night is going to get probably all the hype for probably what's the word? Kind of like gifted to them for like the next 5-6 weeks, something
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
Oh, of course, and that's great. It's they and I guess it's somewhat warranted. It's the first game of the season. It's one of those things where you just don't know because you don't have anything to go off of. Last year is last year. You can, but you can't go off of it. So it's whoever wins that game right off the bat. You're like, all right. You're looking at your schedule, saying, okay, if you're Buffalo, you're like, all right, Ravens, check. Then of course, you take it week to week. You can't look too far ahead because if you're looking too far ahead and you're sitting there looking weeks down the road at the Chiefs, you're going to slip up somewhere. So you've got the Ravens out of the way. All right, boom, put them on the shelf, and then you just continue on and start to build. And then once you get to the Chiefs, you look at where you are and you go from there. But yeah, that's an important game. And when it's that early in the season, you got to bring it early and you got to bring it quick.
Yeah, and those Chiefs. Now, after that Ravens game, the schedule gets significantly more manageable for the Bills,
Mm-hmm.
including four out of their first 5 games at home, and then they get a road game before the bye week. They come out of it with another road game against a lesser opponent, and then they get those Chiefs. So you're really looking at those two um, mile marker, for lack of a better word, games sandwiched between a lot of, you know, quote unquote nothing. So, but that's all the way in the first weekend of November. So there's a lot of time for the Bills to pick up steam before they play those Chiefs. And as we know, they always beat the Chiefs in the regular season. They always lose in the playoffs.
No, you're right. But like we've said, this is a different Chiefs team. Things are a little different this year. So the Chiefs could be fighting for the division at that point. We don't even know. So it's going to be interesting. But for Buffalo, it's just focus, take it week to week with those two games that, right at the beginning and then one in November. Handle your business in between and you just see what happens.
Do you think they'd be able to keep focus in between, considering they're going to be all hyped to start the season and, of course, play the Ravens? But then you've got Jets, Dolphins, Saints, Patriots, Falcons, and Panthers. Do you think they can keep focus for that long stretch without having the Chiefs in their back of their mind and getting overhyped for that and maybe not going into the Kansas City game with the right type of attitude?
No, I think they can. I think they understand, what's at stake, and that if it's going to happen, it has to happen this year. And they don't. This is probably the best chance they have. So I think there's enough veterans in that locker room and that coaching staff to realize, hey, we've been knocking on the door. This is our best chance to break through it. Let's stay focused.
Mm-hmm. Next up is the Patriots, and the biggest storyline in New England going this season is, of course, the homecoming of Mike Vrabel, which is probably. I mean, I know they had that contract with Jared Mayo where he was kind of gifted the head coaching job, but Jared Mayo was a little over his head at times, and it never really felt like that was the step they wanted to get off to after the Belichick era. So now it kind of feels like this is the first year post Belichick, even though it's been a few years at this point.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, definitely. This feels like this is it. I think Mayo kind of got a raw deal, but what it is what it is. But yeah, the Fable son is back because everybody loves Vrabel, and now he's got the guy coached well in Tennessee. I think he got a raw deal out of Tennessee as well, but he knows how to coach, and that team does, is looking good right now.
and probably grabbing this Patriots job at the absolute right time with Drake May kind of looking like right on the cusp of being a franchise quarterback. They've got him. They've got him more weapons than they probably ever even gave Tom Brady, for that matter speaking. So it's kind of look at the defense is still kind of strong. They still had some tweaks to do on their O line, but it's kind of looking like this is the right mix of talent at the right time for Vrabel to be stepping in here.
Oh yeah, it's the perfect storm. They've got a ton of cap space still for the upcoming year, so they're a young team. They've got a lot of young guys. You got Henderson who came out of Ohio State, unbelievable running back. I think he's going to have an incredible year. May is just going to grow. I think he's understanding the position, and I think he's talented. They are beginning to build that team where in the next couple years they could very well threaten Buffalo for supremacy. So I think it's the perfect storm right now.
They just need to make sure that Stephon Diggs doesn't implode their locker room.
Yeah, I think he understands that, there aren't many more chances left for him. So you take these 3 years and you just do what you need to do, because if he fumbles himself out of New England, a team may take a chance on him, but there's not gonna be any money to that contract.
Yeah. The Patriots are like Vrabel kind of he's the lone exception to the Belichick tree. There's been next to no or very little successes off the Belichick coaching tree, and Vrabel's like the one that's actually kind of worked out in a consistent sense. Josh McDaniels has had a couple little peaks, but it's largely been disaster by the time he was done. And everyone else was just a complete and total flame out. So this is also kind of proving ground for Vrabel to, solidify his reputation as being the lone success here.
Yeah, I think he's already done that for what he did in Tennessee. He's won playoff games. He won in New England. That last year Brady was in New England. They beat him. So I don't think he's got to prove anything. I think his record speaks for itself. It's just now, okay, Tennessee didn't want me. I'm back home now. Let me prove to them and everyone in the league why I am as good as people think I am. So I think, like I said, I think it's a perfect marriage, and with the resources they're going to give them and the young talent they have, they're going to surprise some people this year.
Our chunk of games to watch with the Patriots are, I don't want to use the word pressure, but there's a onus of them to get off to a fast start because of the games ahead of them. Their first 8 games are the Raiders, the Dolphins, the Steelers, the Panthers. They do go to Buffalo, the Saints, the Titans, and the Browns. And we could even extend that to 9 games to throw in the Falcons as well. So this is a pretty. We talk about like in a couple of years if the Bills kind of don't figure their stuff out and they kind of fall back, they're ripe for the pickings for New England to overtake them in this kind of new era. But if the Bills stumble this year, the Patriots could almost be in a position to, kind of take the Bills at the low hanging fruit.
Yeah, these are winnable games. They look, with the roster that they have, they look like they can compete. So if Buffalo, for some reason, slips up early and New England can catch a couple games on them, then yeah, the division could be interesting. I think at the end, I think Buffalo still wins the division, but I think New England's got the pieces where they're going to be competitive and they can win some games and they're going to surprise some people. But definitely, if they end up ahead of schedule and somehow, or this division comes down to the last couple weeks, then that just even more makes the onus that New England's back, and they're going to spend that money wherever they need to get this team right to where they need to be to take the division over.
And you could even extend this argument up to their Week 14 bye week, because after the Falcons game, they do have the Bucks and the Bengals. You would think by late November the Bengals would have their situation figured out, but they also get 2 games against each New York team. They get their first Jets game and then the Giants game. So until Week 14, I don't know if you could say it would be fool's gold or just a byproduct of a quote-unquote easy schedule, but they could really be looking pretty going into a bye week.
Yeah, they very well could, and I think Vrabel's the kind of coach where he won't let it fall into fool's gold. He'll sit there and say, these teams aren't the best. We still need to improve. We still need to be better, because that could be us next year, So I think they're on the right path. They're going to be competitive. Buffalo is going to have to kind of keep an eye on them. They're one of those teams where, they catch a run. They're right on the heels.
Yeah. Oh, the Dolphins.
All right, yeah, like okay, like all right, whatever. Like why bother? But all right, for the 3 Dolphins fans out there, okay, let's rock it.
Obviously, the biggest question mark for going for the Dolphins going into the season is Mike McDaniel's hot seat, because it's at this point it's got to be as hot as South Beach on a July day.
Well, I think this all centers around Tua. Like he goes as far as Tua goes. Like literally, excuse me. I've never watched a game where literally every play that their offense has the ball, it's like, is this the end? Is this the end of Tua? Is this the end of Tua as we know it? It's a tough situation, and I can't totally blame him for all of it. But if I was him, I kind of would have been like, I don't know if I want him to be the guy. I don't know. I think if there's someone else at quarterback, I don't know if we're having this conversation about a hot seat.
Yeah, I don't know if I like. I know he supposedly loves Tua, but at the same time, if you can't depend on your quarterback staying healthy, to your point, I'd almost think you would just rather a different quarterback in there, so at least you could build some kind of consistency and rapport with the team.
Yeah, it's your quarterback basically controls your job. Like, let's be real. The quarterback is the most important part of the team. That's just what it is. Some people might think that's not fair, but it is what it is. That's the guy you pay the most money to. That's the guy who basically controls your job status. And if he ends up going out for 3 or 4 weeks and it's an important stretch, right now, like your backup quarterback situation isn't exactly the greatest. What do you do? Like, what is it? It's sad right now. And I feel bad for him. It's just Tua controls his job. And if they can't get it together, then yeah, he'll be looking for a new job.
No, if Tua is out for an extended amount of time, they might see themselves in a situation where Quinn Ewers out of Texas winds up being the quarterback for the season.
He looked all right in a couple games that I saw, but yeah, like there you go. You're going to become a run heavy team. At that point, you don't even know if Tyreek Hill is going to still be on the team. There's a lot of talk about, are they going to cut him? Are they going to trade him because of, the drama there? So this team a couple years ago, we were like, oh man, could be AFC champs. This team's got this high powered offense and everything's good. Tua gets hurt, that knocks him down a peg. And now with this issue with Tyreek and everything, I don't know. I think McDaniels, if they're not at least 2 or 3 games above 500 halfway or so through the season and they're struggling, I think he's dead man walking.
Well, you bring up the other members of the offense, and like, okay, if Tua's out, they have to go with Ewers or someone else at quarterback, and they wind up being run first. Even that's a bit of a question mark, because Achane is a wonderful talent, but the kid cannot stay on the field. He'll have
No,
3 or 4 explosive games, get hurt, miss a few weeks, come back, have 2 or 3 more explosive games, then get hurt again.
and that goes hand in hand with your quarterback not being around. If your quarterback can be around, you're going to let him throw it. You're going to let him throw it around the yard. When it got to the point where Tua wasn't around, yeah, you're going to lean on your run game. And unfortunately, Achane's a guy where, a heavy workload maybe isn't his forte. Maybe he's a, 12, 13 carry back at best. At that situation, you really need the 2-back system. And they ran that for a bit,
but gone now.
Yeah, he's gone now. But they would run that system, but when Achane was 100%, it was Achane was getting force fed, and then it was like, okay, let's give it to Mozart here and there. They need somebody who could balance it out perfectly and give Achane that rest because he can't handle the load that much. But this is what the team is.
And the receivers, Tyreek obviously gets all the headlines. He's been quite mercurial this season. He didn't have the best season last year, and I don't know how much you can necessarily blame him for that because Tua's health obviously was a huge question. But Jalen Waddle also was injured at times last year. Missed, this whole second half of the season or last third of the season, something of that nature. So you've got Jalen Waddle, who's an injury risk, and you've got Tyreek Hill, who is slowly starting to become a bit of a cancer in the locker room.
The end of the day, if you don't have your starting quarterback, you got nothing. I don't care who you got at what other positions, because if your backup guy can't carry the load for 3 to 4 games, it's a loss. It's a lost cause. So now, what it comes down to is Tua needs for McDaniels to keep his job. Tua's got to stay healthy. They've got to start quick, and they need to make the playoffs. They have to be a playoff team for him to keep his job. That's what this comes down to.
Is this just if they don't and they have a miserable season on top of that, is this a complete clean house? Get rid of McDaniel's gone. You start getting rid of players too.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think it's a failed experiment, and you need to say, okay, it was great. It was a great, 4 or 5 years we had here, and 3-4 years, and we just couldn't. What we wanted to do, we couldn't do it. There were injuries and other circumstances. You trade off what you can get, because right now you're probably. If you wait too long, especially with Tyreek, you're not going to get that much. He's getting older. He's still got the speed, but he's getting older. When you're a wide receiver and you start approaching 30 and then some, unless you're just like a short, third down, red zone kind of guy, you start to depreciate in value like a car. So some team may overpay for him, and then you've got the other pieces. I think you'd keep Waddle. Waddle's young. I think he's a centerpiece. But yeah, it's time to get what you can and rebuild.
And similar to our Patriots talk of how they have a fairly friendly schedule to start the season, the Dolphins actually have a little bit of the same thing here. Their first 7 games, they get the Colts, the Patriots. They do have the Bills early, but they have the Jets, the Panthers, the Chargers, and the Browns. So the Chargers. They've got a lot of hype about them, but, hype that also tends to be a little unrealized at times. Aside from that and the Bills, this is also a schedule where the Dolphins could, maybe they sneak a few out of here. They have somewhere close to a 500 record, and maybe they have some confidence that they otherwise didn't think they would.
They've done it before. It's not like this team's never won or never been, in the hunt before. It's just, does Tua stay healthy, and can they get their heads right? That's just what this is. This team has done it to themselves. If they can keep it together and, win the games they're supposed to win and be competitive, yeah, they've got a shot. They've got a shot at a wild card. I don't think they have the division. I don't think they can win the division, but I think they're definitely a wild card team if everything falls their way.
And there's a lot of pressure for things to fall their way, because after that, heading into the bye, Falcons, Ravens, Bills again, and Washington.
Yeah, it's true. The Washington game, who knows? If Washington for some reason is a 1 or 2 seed, they're not going to start their starters. So at that point, that game might not even really matter.
In week 11, I feel like they probably may still be playing.
The way you read it, I thought you said that was the last game.
No. Just into the bye.
Health. You want to talk Miami? It's health. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. And a team we always love to kick back and forth over the years is the New York Football Jets.
Yeah, but not anymore. They're all right. There's nothing wrong with them. They don't annoy anybody anymore. They've gone through this. After going through the Aaron Rodgers fiasco, you kind of have to feel bad for a team, and you just, Fields, I like the kid. I think he's gotten a raw deal. So I'm hoping for good things.
And the fact, what's it been, 17 years since they last made the playoffs? At this point, you're almost getting a whole generation of Jets fans that's never seen a playoff game.
It's like the Cowboys fans. What are you talking about? That's no different.
Well, Cowboys fans have seen a playoff game. They just haven't seen a playoff win.
To me, that's the same thing. You can get there if you don't win at least the first playoff game you're in. Then why even bother? But the Jets are trying to turn it over. I think Robert Saleh got a bad deal at the end, and they cleaned house again. So at this point, if they can't get it right, then I don't know. I think maybe you just fold the franchise. I don't know. Move them. I don't know. It's bad enough they share a stadium with the Giants. That's ridiculous. there's hope there. Fields, I think, like I said, I think he got a raw deal. I think he's got some talent. If he's in the right offense, I think he can perform. Aaron Glenn comes home,
Yeah.
former Jet comes home. He's ready to to coach. I don't know if I would have taken the Jets job. Personally, I don't know. I think I might have waited one more year and then saw what else was open, because I'm sure there. Who knows? Pittsburgh probably will be open. You never know.
Yeah,
But
it's almost like who was more desperate to have a head coaching job, Aaron Glenn taking the Jets or Kellen Moore taking the Saints?
that's exactly what I was gonna say. I'm like, are you that desperate to be the head guy? I'm not that desperate. I still get to wear the cool clothes and stuff. I'll be a coordinator. I'm getting paid good. I don't need to rush
Yeah.
it. But Aaron, Glenn feels he wants to come home and fix the wrongs of the past, and now he's got a chance. They've got some pieces there. Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner. They've got pieces. They've just got to figure it all out again.
Yeah, it's the fresh start for both for Glenn and Fields. We'll stay on Glenn for a second. Do you think that Glenn could have an effect on Sauce Gardner similar to how Rex had the effect on Revis, where all of a sudden the player became the household name and he started getting all this publicity as the best corner in the league, Hall of Famer with only playing like 2-3 years in the league. Like the hype train was very quickly after the union had formed.
Well, Sauce had already had that. Sauce, defensive player of the year or rookie of the year. He came out on fire. Everyone was like, "Oh, Sauce is the guy." There was a lot of hype with Sauce, and then the Jets, only do what they do. They jet, and things got bad, and the defense fell apart. And of course, you got the Aaron Rodgers show, and that just when you're dealing with that, you probably don't even want to go to work. So I think what happens is, like, for real, man. Like, I wouldn't want to go. I'd be like, well, I don't know. If I was just sitting the bench getting paid, I'd be like, I don't care. Let Aaron do what he do. Not my problem. But I think this is new life, and I think because Glenn was a cornerback, they probably have had a lot of conversations already, and it's hey, you could be the best. You could be the best corner in the league. I just need you to be that guy. I need you to be who you were when you first came into the league, which was only like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think Sauce is going to, come out on fire and, try to prove why, a lot of people think he's an all pro and one of the elite in the league.
And then from Justin Fields' perspective, you mentioned it before. He got a raw deal. He's got a raw deal twice. He got a raw deal in Chicago. He finally started to play well, and then they take Caleb Williams. Goes to Pittsburgh. You think this is perfect because were sorely missing the quarterback situation, and then for some reason they were just enamored with Russell Wilson, and Fields got yanked, with the season barely a quarter of the way old. So he kind of got the raw deal twice. Now he comes to the Jets. There's no one really to compete with here. This is his gig. It's his to do with what he pleases, whether he has success with the Jets or plays a couple years, puts up gaudy numbers, has some success, and gets a big contract somewhere to kind of take him to the end of his career. This is a very large opportunity for Justin Fields.
Yeah. When he was in Pittsburgh, he was 4-2, and then they pulled the rug out from under him, and then there you go. Because, like you said, for some reason, people still feel Russell Wilson is elite. Like he can still, and we've talked about it. He still throws a pretty deep ball, like he does. Like you got to give him credit. Like he can still, when he gets the time, he can throw the ball. But besides that, it's whatever with him. And now, yeah, the Jets were when free agency started, literally like within a day or two, Fields was gone. The Jets jumped all on him, and the Steelers did want him back, but you knew Fields wasn't going to go back. The way he got treated and ripped around, he said, "Forget this." He went somewhere where he felt wanted. So now I think you're going to hopefully see him develop.
Uh-oh. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we may have lost Bucks McGee. We may have lost Bucks McGee. Internet can be a cruel mistress at times. We may have to come back at a later time for our NFC West preview because we may have lost Bucks McGee's signal here. So we will close this live and try to get this going again to finish finish the talks with previewing NFC West.